previously. And the Mark IV, I mean, if I haven't ever seen a bigger waste of money, okay, well I have, but, well, it could have gone worse. I could have bought Private Service Plus instead. The Snowball Launcher Mark IV was a weapon released in winter 2024 for the jaw-dropping, eye-dilated, why is my bank calling me for fraudulent activity price of 2,749 Robux, or roughly 30 USD. I could have bought a toaster. In-game, this weapon costs 260 and takes up 8.5 slots. This weapon has infinite ammo, so the cost to reload is nothing. There's also a very short but noticeable wind-up before firing the weapon. It's just slightly under half a second. Anyway, this meter shows how long you're able to shoot snowballs for. Once it becomes fully blue, you'll stop shooting. If you spam click after the meter is fully depleted, after about 1.5 seconds, the SBL4 will just cough and shoot nothing. Although if there's even just a sliver of white, you can shoot snowballs. The time to reload varies due to being able to fire a small burst or just firing a flurry of snowballs, making the reload time range from about a little over 2 seconds to a little over 9 seconds. Functionally, this weapon has an overheating mechanic, since you're forced to stop shooting after firing a set amount of snowballs. It's not really an overheating mechanic because your weapon doesn't reset back to its full capacity or have a specific time cooldown, but it's the simplest way to explain how it works. Strangely, there's a key to reload this weapon despite not actually being able to. As a side effect of the infinite ammo, this is the only snowball launcher unable to be reloaded off the ground. The SBL4 also fires regular snowballs in case you didn't notice. These snowballs on their own do 5 damage and knock down players without helmets on a headshot. On the cosmetic side, it smells similar to a flamethrower, but snow. It's quite nice. But how does it hold up in a fight? Admittedly, putting the SBL4 in the context of actual combat is pretty stupid because his weapon is very weak and is easily overpowered by almost any other ranged weapon, but that doesn't matter now. This weapon in particular isn't that bad for combat. Don't get me wrong, it's not good, but it's not completely horrible. There's no special notability about this weapon that comes from its attack, unlike the SBL3 which can slightly launch players upwards even if that in particular isn't super crazy. The potential this weapon has is entirely dependent on who you're fighting. That sounds obvious for any weapon, but for the SBL4 it's more noticeable. The original SBL and SBL2 were both too weak anyway to ever really stand a chance in a fight, so that doesn't apply to them, mostly. And the SBL3 can actually hold its own for the most part, surprisingly. Against guns, you're dead. Against the other snowball launchers, well, you probably won't struggle against the first two, but the 3 can give you some trouble mostly because of the knockup it has, which will force you to rev up the SBL4 repeatedly. Against melees? Honestly, from what I can tell, it's fairly split here. If you can hit headshots with the snowballs, you're golden. If they get a ball in your face and you can't aim too well, you're dead. All of that isn't even mentioning basic player movement. Obviously, people are gonna dodge and you'll miss. But in actual combat encounters, it would probably go something like this. Got killed by Dream, bro. I could so go for a Hot Pocket right now. Yeah, not the most ideal outcome, right? Well, it's not good at being a primary, but what about as a supportive weapon? Even if the damage itself is bad, people will always naturally avoid getting hit by the sudden flurry of snowballs you can conjure up at a moment's notice. This was also a benefit of the SBL2, making it a great deterrent. But that's about all it really has going for itself in terms of combat capability. It can do good, but it probably won't most of the time. Now that's not to say it's worthless, because all the snowball launchers are fantastic supportive weapons. As primaries are all bad, but alongside other people, the SBL4 will do very well. Unless you only play alone, in which case you're out of luck. I don't really have an intention on just bashing on this weapon, but it's hard not to. This weapon takes 8.5 slots, which is completely ridiculous. That's more than the RPG and the BFG. Also, that alone definitely hurts the helpfulness that comes from being a strictly supportive weapon. There is no reason for it to take that much space, but either way, all you've got left is 1.5 slots to work with unless you get a backpack. Oh wait! You actually can't get a backpack with the SPL4. For whatever reason, buying the SPL4 will prevent you from buying a backpack, and buying a backpack will prevent you from buying the SPL4. Because of this extremely unnecessary addition, your best choices are the nunchucks or knuckle dusters just because they take no space. Maybe you can get a snack or pepper spray and a bandage. Although you can get armor, do you really want armor with this? And then there's the Game Pass price itself. I mean, what's there to say? It speaks for itself. Against players with helmets, you lose the ability to knock them down, which is invaluable for a weapon that relies on such a weak projectile. Consequently, you're put at a severe disadvantage. Although maybe you wouldn't have hit those headshots anyway because you have to get used to aiming this thing because for whatever reason, there's a form of random spread placed on the snowballs, meaning they can quite literally go in any direction from which you shoot at. Snowballs can jolt down, up, to the sides and straight. Even though the SPL2 also has this problem, I find it a lot less noticeable for some reason. Scoping in alleviates this on both the SPL2 and 4. But anyway, what you're firing is extremely inconsistent. Shots that should have hit won't because they went away. On top of that, the rate at which the snowballs are shot isn't constant either. While counting the amount of snowballs shot, I noticed that sometimes snowballs took a little longer than the last one to get out, and sometimes snowballs shot out immediately after the previous one. Occasionally, 2 snowballs are shot at once too. The last point I have isn't really a real point, but the SPL4 is just sort of awkward as a whole. Its usage in combat is worse than the SPL3 despite costing more in Robux and being the most chaotic snowball launcher due to not having to reload. It also functions more like a deterrent since it fires the regular snowball. But in that case, why not just save yourself 1,550 Robux and just buy the SPL2 to deter enemies? Functionally, they're the same. And the SPL2 is even easier to control. Redeeming qualities, huh? This weapon is a great supportive weapon, just like all the other SPLs. The infinite ammo this weapon has is really strong since you don't have to stop at a snail's pace to reload, because regardless if you're running or walking, the meter will refill. You're able to shoot 43 snowballs at once, which is 19 more than the SPL2. Yes, 19 more. I counted 5 different instances of this. The highest it went to was 43. Anything lower I think I counted wrong, unless that deviates too. Visually it's amazing since it's basically a snow flamethrower. It can steamroll unarmored players if you aim just right. People in-game might go up to you and ask you about it because nobody uses it, making this weapon a whole hell of a lot more uncommon to see at any time of year. You can mess around with it in casual. It's festive. Yeah, well so are onions, but I don't think I'll be having those for the holidays. Trying to justify the usefulness of the Snowball Launcher Mark IV is difficult. The price tag is just too steep, and on top of that, the weapon itself having issues that it shouldn't have. Seriously, why can't you buy a backpack? Why is there even a random pattern when you shoot? Why doesn't it have a set fire rate? Why is it so expensive? Why does it take 8.5 slots? There's no real point to complaining though. The odds of this weapon ever being buffed is 0. If the original SPL was on sale, honestly I just recommend that. If you're still considering buying this though, there is fun to be had with this, but don't expect much. I find that buying either the SPL 2 or 3 would be better options, not only for their prices, but also in that they're just better too. The SPL 2 is very effective as a supportive weapon, and the SPL 3 can mostly hold its own in combat. Ultimately, the SPL 4 isn't completely bad, but it can be so much better than what it is now. Maybe if it shot a stronger snowball, or had a higher capacity, or didn't have a random spread pattern, there's so much that can still be improved. For the time being, there's absolutely no reason to buy this weapon unless you really want it. Something of note too, if you actually plan on buying this, just stop for a second and think to yourself, do I need this? Will I actually use it? Well, that's all. Okay, bye.